Hi everyone, next up on my Tolkien Illustrated collection, which doesn't match. Other copies of his works that I own do, but it just came about over the course of time that these ones don't, that I own. So this is the Silmarillion, illustrated by Ted Nasmith. It's also rarely subtitled, only on this dust jacket. The Myths and Legends of Middle-earth. Does not say that. There, or on the proper title page. So what happened is this is actually the first illustrated Tolkien book I ever got. The one after this that matches later printings of The Hobbit, illustrated by Alan Lee, the 2002 three-part box set, the 2003 Complete Guide to Middle-earth. That one came out in 2004. I got this one either early that year or late in 2003. It was a gift. I don't remember the circumstances, as if it was for my birthday, a Christmas, or something from an ex-girlfriend or something. I saw that they were doing one, probably the new one, new for 2004, I mean, coming out in 2004, and I asked for a Silmarillion illustrated version. And that was before, I knew what I know now about Tolkien books at that time. So I'm going to do my usual thing here. I forgot to do this with The Hobbit because it's a hardcover with a dust jacket. For The Hobbit, for here, it has Tolkien's version of Smaug. And the book, that particular version or printing, it doesn't feel cloth bound or anything like that. It feels like harder texture paper. This one here could be cloth bound. I'm not sure. It doesn't feel as, well, cloth-ish, but it feels like a standard older hardcover underneath, if that makes sense. It very well could be. I just don't know that enough about binding to know it. Okay, so here's the front. Here's the rear. And there's the spine. And it's HarperCollins. We open it up, move the flap out of the way so we can see better. The map of Beleriand and the lands to the north, colorized version. And the rear, I believe, is the exact same thing, duplicated. Yes, it is, exact same. Oops. Sometimes it's a little tricky to do these videos one-handed. There we are. I'm just a guy with a phone filming his Tolkien books. I'm not a professional YouTuber or, someone who films stuff often. I just, very rarely do I turn my phone sideways to do videos. I should do it more often, but I know for YouTube, it's definitely the way to do it. Okay, so there's not much really to say about this edition. The text is printed on normal paper, and it uses the typeset of the first edition, I'm guessing, because it does not have preface to the second edition or that segment of Tolkien's letter where he explains his plans for his saga. Because initially he wanted to do the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion together and call that the Saga of the Jewels and the Rings. So yeah, like I said, the book itself is on normal paper, except for the illustrations come on nice photo glossier paper, which I personally like. I like the mix. I know some, they have either the entire illustrated Tolkien book on glossy paper or on non-glossy paper, but not like this, which can be good for image reproduction, but I guess you could call me old school in that I prefer the older, style. Oh, there is one thing I wanted to mention about this one. I think it's closer to the back. See if I can find it. Here we are. This map here is also on photo paper, and I believe, I don't know my various copies of the Silmarillion, but I believe this map only appears at the back of this particular hardcover. I think it also appears further in the book somewhere else. I don't know if that's also for this edition or instead or whatever, but I know they moved it to the back for its placement. So that is pretty much it for my illustrated versions of The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and The Silmarillion. I do have other illustrated books illustrated Tolkien books, which I will cover. but I wanted to get the main 3 out of the way. So the next video, you will see what is next. Pretty sure I covered everything that I could think of to cover about this particular version. Like I said, it's quite nice. It was my first ever one, which, because I have other illustrated editions like The Hobbit Alan Lee, The Lord of the Rings Alan Lee that you saw, I keep it with those on my shelf. But prior to that, I kept it with my first ever copies of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings because, well, you know, it just looked progressively nice together. All right, keep an eye out for the next video. It could be a couple days or whatnot, but I'll get to it when I do. But I wanted to make sure I got the main 3 taken care of. Thanks so much. Take care.